Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So today we're going to talk about making card decals for your vehicle with the Cricut machine. What materials should you use? So we're going to run through a few different materials. The first is just going to be regular permanent vinyl that you cut with your Cricut machine and put on your car. So we're going to do one control sample with that. But then I thought the real test is going to be, can I print something? So if you have something you need to print, maybe like the logo for your business or something like that, and you want to put it on the window of your car, what can you use and actually get that logo to last over the long term? So we're going to try a few different products. We're going to try Cricut Printable Vinyl. We'll actually try it just by itself, as well as adding one sealer. I'm going to test just one sealer. I do know that there's various sealers that people have tried before. I can only test one, just given like what I'm going to do. But if you wanted to test some more, I'm sure that you could test those. And then we're going to try the Orajet Printable Vinyl along with OraGuard Laminating Film. And then we're going to try the Starcraft Printable Matte Vinyl along with the Starcraft Glossy UV Laminate. So those are the kind of the three printable products we're going to try. And then we're going to take all three of those, apply them to glass, and put them outside to run them through some tests. So first let's look at the products we're going to use, as well as how I made each of these decals, and then we'll talk about our tests. So here are the materials we're going to use. We're going to use Cricut Premium Vinyl, and it has to say permanent on it. You don't want the removable. So we're going to use that for like our baseline. And then we're going to use Cricut Printable Vinyl. We're going to use Starcraft Matte Adhesive Printable Vinyl, along with Starcraft Glossy UV Laminate. And then we're going to use the Orajet Digital Printing Vinyl, along with the OraGuard Laminating Film. And this is the 210. So first, let's talk about how we are preparing each of these materials and cutting them on our Cricut machine, and then we will talk about the comparison that we're going to make between them all. First, let's do the permanent vinyl. We're going to do 2 of each of our experiments. I'm going to keep one indoors, and I'm going to put one outdoors on some glass so we can see what the weather and sun do to each of these products. For each of these, I'm doing the exact same design. And for the vinyl, you will need a piece of transfer tape to transfer your design. You transfer this just like any other vinyl. So we are going to, let's start with the top, which is this pink piece in this case. The colors are completely up to you. These are just the colors I had on hand that worked pretty well with this design. So for each of these, we'll just put them on the transfer tape, rub them down really well, remove the backing, and move to the next color. So I'll repeat with all of my colors until we have a decal ready to transfer to our glass. So here's our design ready to transfer. Now, if you're not ready to transfer it yet for some reason, you can put it on, so this is the backing paper for the transfer tape. And we can just add that right to that backing paper, and it'll be ready to go when we are. So let's talk about the printable versions first, and then we'll add these all to our glass. So first, a few tips and tricks on printing. So I've already printed all 3, and they're ready to be cut on my Cricut. This is the Cricut Printable Vinyl. This is the Orajet Printable Vinyl, so you can see that on the back. And this is the Starcraft Printable Adhesive Vinyl. And you can see that on the back as well. Now, you will need to put the laminate on these 2 before you cut them with your Cricut. So these are only printed, they are not cut. But a few words about printing. So each of these, you use an inkjet printer to print them. And then I wanted to say a few notes. So these are the same material, but you can see that this one, perhaps you can see that the colors aren't as bright, and then this one actually has a few lines through them if you look really, really closely. So what you do to get the crispest print possible is when you're printing on your Cricut, choose the option to print using your system dialog, and then print with the best quality. Print it like it's a photo, and you will get a really good quality print that will look better for your decal. So this one I'm actually going to toss because I was just doing it as a comparison, but you can hopefully see the differences and see how this one is not as bright. And then it does have lines through it if you were to look really, really closely. So we're going to use these three to do our experiments with. The Cricut Printable Vinyl does not have a laminate. So it's just going to go onto our glass just like this and go outside for our experiment. So I'm just going to cut it just as it is. And on each of these, you may notice some fading around the edges. I do have the bleed on. I like the bleed on. The Cricut will cut that off so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, for the AuraJet, we're going to use the AuraGuard laminating film. For the Starcraft Printable Adhesive Vinyl, we're going to use the Starcraft Glossy UV Laminate. So what you want to do for each of these, you do not want to put the laminate over this box. The box is what tells your Cricut where to cut, and the laminate may throw it off slightly. So we are going to cut our laminate to cover just the printed area and not the box. So you can see that that's cut, and it will cover all of the printed area, but leave this box where our Cricut can see it. So now let's talk about applying the laminating film, and the steps are the same for both of these brands. So the laminating film, you want to get it on there without any bubbles if possible. So I'm just going to kind of turn this sideways, and then I'm going to peel this back just slightly, maybe just a little bit. And then we're going to use that little area that we just peeled back to start this, and we're just going to kind of work it all the way down. So we're going to start this at the top. Don't want to cover the box at all. So I'm not on the black box at all, and I want to press that down really well. And something like a scraper tool, an old credit card, something like that works great. I like this wide version so that I can get the entire thing at once, hopefully with at least smaller decals. And then we want to pull this piece we peeled back. We want to pull it as we push with the scraper, hopefully eliminating all bubbles. And you just want to go really slowly. So we're pulling this backing paper, pushing our scraper against the laminating film, pressing it down to the vinyl to remove any bubbles. And every few seconds, I will just stop and press it down really, really well. So this just ensures we have no bubbles and no chance, hopefully, of water getting underneath there. And you do want to, I did press this down fairly straight, but you do want to watch and make sure it's not getting over your box on either side. Now I will cut all of these on the printable vinyl setting. These versions with the laminate, I may have to cut twice. To do that, before you eject your project from your Cricut machine, you would just hit the C button a second time and it'll run through and cut again. And that way we'll cut through the laminate as well as the vinyl and not, just the laminate that's on top. All right, so that's on there. Our circles are completely covered and everything's on there without any bubbles. If you see any bubbles, you just want to burnish those down really well and get those out. Now this one is ready for our Cricut and ready to cut. We want to repeat the same exact procedures with the Starcraft Glossy UV Laminate. So we want to hold that up and that'll cover this way. So first of all, a few differences between these two. So the AuraJet is thinner. This Starcraft Printable adhesive vinyl is super thick. Like it is like a really thick cardstock feel. And then the other thing I really like is that the OraGuard laminate has these lines on the back, so I could cut it easily with my scissors. The Starcraft does not. So those are just a few differences I'm seeing right off. Just the feel of the material and that type of thing. I think I can cut right here. All right, so now I have a piece that'll cover my printed area completely, and we're going to repeat the same procedures. So we're going to peel back, just peel back that backing just a little bit. And then we'll add that to the very top, not covering up any of this box. And we'll press that down really, really well. And again, we'll pull the backing from back here, push with our scraper from this side at the exact same time, pressing that laminate down as we go. And every few seconds we're going to stop and just burnish it really well to make sure everything's down. So same exact procedure. Now I feel like the ultimate test for these is outside, especially if you want to make card decals, but the tests remain the same if you're making like something like mugs or something like that. Anything where you're going to get moisture is where you're going to potentially use this laminated printable vinyl. As long as we see which one's the best, right? So maybe the non-laminated one is best. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, so there's that one. So again, this is the Starcraft Printable Adhesive Vinyl with Starcraft Glossy UV Laminate over the top. And then we have the Orajet Printable Vinyl with OraGuard laminating film over the top. And then we have just the Cricut Printable Vinyl that does not have any laminating film. So this one is not laminated at all. And then our basically baseline comparison is the Cricut Premium Vinyl that is just cut on a Cricut machine. Now, a couple words about this laminated version and transfer tape. It's going to be really tricky to use transfer tape with anything that you've laminated over the top of. So for this design, it was fairly complicated. So I laid it on top of a white circle. So I would have one piece to peel off of here and stick onto my glass. I think that would be the answer, because if you use transfer tape on this, you run the risk of the laminating film separating from the vinyl, which you would not want. So I would try to avoid using transfer tape if possible on the two laminated versions. Transfer tape, of course, works with premium vinyl, and I've used transfer tape with the Cricut printable vinyl before without issue. So that's just a word of caution about your design to make it at least simplify it a little bit so you don't have to use transfer tape with these two versions. Okay, so let's head to our Cricut machine and cut our printed designs next. So we're going to start with the Cricut printable vinyl. I have my dial on my Explorer set to custom, and I've picked printable vinyl from the list. And now we are just going to add our mat and cut our designs. The first thing the machine does is look for this box along the outer edge to locate the cuts. Once it's located the cuts, it will go ahead and cut our design. One tip is that before you press this flashing arrow, to check and make sure that your project is cut all the way through. This will be extremely important for the laminated versions, but if you just pick it up, not all the way, and then try to pick up those decals, I can see that these are cut all the way through, so I'll go ahead and eject my mat. Now I'm going to use the exact same settings to cut the Oragard printable vinyl that has the laminate over the top. Once again, I have not put the laminate around the outside box so that the Cricut machine can see it. So we'll go ahead and insert our mat. Once again, we'll check for the box before beginning the cut. Now it's going to cut our design. Once again, we want to kind of lift this up, but do not lift it all the way off your mat. And we're going to try it and see if these are cut all the way through. I'm expecting to have to cut this twice, and I am. So I'm going to stick that back down on the mat. And then I'm going to press this C button again for a second cut without unloading the mat at all. It will repeat all the same procedures, so it will repeat finding that box again and then the cut. Once again, we want to make sure that these are cut all the way through before removing them from our mat. So I can see that the laminate is cut all the way through and the vinyl is as well. So that is lifting up. So I am going to press the arrow button to remove it from my machine. Again, we cut this twice for the Oragard printable with laminate on top. Finally, we have the Starcraft. Now this is definitely the thickest of them all. I expect to have to cut this like 3 times, but I'm just going to leave it on the same settings. We'll just press our C to cut. Once again, it's going to find the box to locate its cut. And now that the cut is complete, again, I can check, but I'm fairly confident that it's not all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the C again and cut a second time and then check. So now that it's cut that second time, I'm going to go ahead and lift this up, but not all the way. And I'm going to check to see if it's cut all the way through. And it is through the laminate, but it's not through the vinyl. So I'm going to lay everything back on the mat and press the C to cut a third time. Once again, I'm going to check the cut after the third pass just to make sure. I believe it's cut through now. And it is. So that's 3 passes for the Starcraft with the UV laminate over the top, and we're going to remove it from our Cricut. All right, so I have one final component to this test. So this is the Cricut Printable Vinyl. Again, they don't make a laminate to go over the top. A lot of people recommend using some kind of sealant like Mod Podge. So I have a Mod Podge spray on, and I'm going to cover like half of the decal with the Mod Podge and leave the other half without. And that way we can kind of tell what a difference that makes and if it would be an option when you're making your card decals. So I'm going to remove all the excess. vinyl, and then I'm going to cover up half the decal. And I'm actually going to cover my work surface as well. So I'm going to cover my work surface. Then I'm going to cover like half the decal. So we're going to have the right half is going to be sprayed with a sealer, and the left half is going to be left just the printable vinyl without any spray. So I'm just going to kind of tape down, and I'm just using a spare piece of paper for a mask. And then this stuff, you want to shake it really, really well, like 10, 15 seconds. A regular Mod Podge would work. I've seen people use like spray polyurethane. Just about any kind of sealer for outdoor use would probably work in this case. But I'm just going to give these a quick spray. And what you want to do is start this off to the side. So I'm going to have another spare piece of paper here, and I'm just going to spray it a few times. Make sure it's coming out in an even stream. And then I'm just going to spray a light coat over the top, and I'm going to set this aside, allow it to dry. So this would be another sort of level to our experiments to see if this helps the Cricut printable vinyl or not. So first thing I did was take my marker. So these are dry now. So this is the one, the Cricut printable vinyl, and we put a sealer on one side, and I took my marker and just marked on that yellow right where this piece of paper was covering. And that way when I remove it, we know that this side has no sealer and this side has a sealer. So for each of these, I'm going to leave one of these pieces on the paper, and I'm going to leave it inside. So we'll do this one, and I'll just write on the back of it, Cricut. So then I know that this one is Cricut, half sealed, half not, and I can set that to the side. Then for the other one, we're going to apply it to some glass to simulate the glass of a car, and then I'm going to put this glass outside. So I have one that stays inside, away from the light, away from the rain, away from the sunshine, that type of thing, and one that goes outside. So the glass that we're going to use for outside, simulating a car, we want it to be really clean. If you are adding a decal to your car, you want to get your glass super clean. We are going to use rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to clean this entire glass surface because we're going to put all of the decals on one piece of glass. And I'm actually going to just clean both sides really quick, just so we know that it's super clean. And we'll just run over this one more time and then dry it, and it'll be ready for some decals. All right, our glass is clean and dry. You don't want to touch it with your hands. The oils from your hands can affect the adhesive, and you don't really want to touch the back of your decals with your hands. So we're just going to kind of peel this Cricut one up, and I'm just going to grab it from the very edge as little as possible, peel it off, and then we're going to flip that over again just on the edges. We're going to put it up here in the corner. So put it as straight as possible. So when adding decals to your car, a friend really helps. So anyone that can stand back and make sure the decal is straight. We are simulating a car window here, so it does not matter, but anyone that can help you with that would be great. Then use something like this scraper or an old credit card to burnish it down really well, making sure to get all the bubbles out. Now for these, I'm actually going to write on the back of each one of these, right on the glass, and I'm going to write Cricut. And then next, let's do one of the vinyl. So the vinyl, again, I have two versions, exactly the same. I'm going to leave one on the paper in the house away from the sunlight. And then that way we can compare for any fading. Then we're going to peel this one back. Again, clean glass. And we're just going to drop down here and add this one. Another tip for when adding to your car is to use that same method we kind of use with that laminate, and just get one edge down and work your way across to avoid as many bubbles as possible. So then when it's good and down, we can just peel back that transfer tape. And we're going to burnish this one down really well. Try to get as many bubbles out as possible. All right, next up we'll do the Aura Guard. And again, this has the laminate over the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of all the excess around the outside edge. Now these are experiments. If I was doing this in real life, I would probably try to use as much of this paper as I can. I would go the maximum size. The maximum size is like 6.25 by 9.25 on the Cricut. So I'd probably try to go that maximum size to get as much as possible. So the excess isn't wanting to peel really well. So I'm just going to peel this, the decal itself. And then I'm going to put it over here in a clean area. And again, this is the Aura Guard. So we're going to stick that down. Burnish it down really, really well. Make sure there aren't any bubbles. And I'm going to flip this over and we'll write, we know this one's vinyl, but just for consistency, I'll write vinyl. And then I'm going to put Aura, O-R-A, on the back of the Aura Guard. And then this version, again, leaving in the house so we can compare, and it has the Aura jet on the back, but I'm just going to write it just in case. And then we'll write in Cricut on that one and vinyl on this one. All right, last but not least is the Starcraft. And this is so super thick, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to peel that excess away. Yeah, same thing. So I'm just going to have to peel the decal itself. Again, this one is super, super thick. So we're going to put this one in this lower corner that's clean. And just burnish that down really well. And we will write star on the back. So now we have our comparison sheet. I'm going to set this outside in the sun, in the rain, in the weather, and we're going to come back, compare it with our samples that we're going to leave in the house, and see how each of these perform outside. So now I have my glass, and it's been outside for 3.5 weeks. What are the results? Let's take a look. All right, so here are our results after about 3.5 weeks outside. So I had this outside flat on my patio table. The sun beat down on it, the rain beat down on it, the rain sat on these pieces. It was a pretty extreme test. So this is the first one. This is the Cricut brand of printable vinyl. Again, this side was not sealed. This side was sealed. And here's our sample that I left indoors. So you can see a pretty significant fading of the sample. Now, the one on the side where it was not sealed faded quite a bit more than the side where it was sealed, but it still faded on the sealed side. So you can see a difference in the colors in a few places. So for this one, I definitely did not like the fading in the sun. So let's move on to Cricut vinyl. So this is the vinyl that sat out in the sun. And then this is the vinyl that's been sitting inside. I can probably notice just maybe a very slight discoloration in the color. Not very much at all, but you can kind of see maybe a slight discoloration. Overall, it looks really good. So if you can use permanent vinyl for your card decals, I think you will be happy with maybe expecting a very slight change in the color, but overall really good. Now let's continue on because you might have a design that you really need to print. So this is the Oracal. And this is my control sample. So the colors faded a lot less than the Cricut printable vinyl. So you can see kind of the color comparisons there. And a lot of the colors, like these blues, are pretty true to where they were 3.5 weeks ago. I did get, you may not even be able to see it. There's a little bit of discoloration around the very outer edges, but overall, this is the one I like best. So if I have a design, it needs to be printable vinyl and I need to put it on my car, I'm probably going to choose the Oracal with the laminate over the top. So let's move on and let's just look at the Starcraft just so you can see what happened. So this is the Starcraft. This is the one that sat outside. This is my control sample. So first of all, you can see quite a bit of fading in those colors. And then you can really see a discoloration around that outside edge. It discolored quite a ways in and kind of bled around the edges. I think because it's so thick, it allows that water to get up underneath there and affect the color of your decal. So for me, if I'm going to do printable, I would do the Oracal, which is this one. And then I definitely don't really recommend the Starcraft, or the Cricut one was up here. And this is my control sample for it because it faded so darn much. Like it's kind of really significant, the fading. You might be able to try this Cricut with a bunch of different sealers over the top. I've seen quite a few different sealers used. I would still expect some fading, so just be aware of that. These all, however, stuck really well. So none of these, I wouldn't have any fear of them peeling off of the car. So if you wanted to experiment with some different sealers, you could kind of run some tests at home if you just have to have the Cricut printable vinyl. If you don't, I would just recommend going with this Oracal version, which is this one, and sticking with it with the laminate over the top as the sealer, and I think you'll really like the results. So now you know which of these I prefer, right? So if I have a design, it'll look okay cut out of permanent vinyl. I would definitely use like a Cricut permanent vinyl or even an Oracal permanent to make my car decal. If I can't really cut the design out, it really needs to be printed, I would go with the Orajet digital printing film with the OraGuard laminating film over the top. That gave me the best results, UV resistance as well as weather resistance. So I would definitely try that if you need that printable logo. Again, I printed these all just on my home inkjet printer, nothing special at all. I will link to the printer that I use below just so that you know which one that I prefer. But I think just any printer you have will work. I would print them, like I said, on that best photo printing setting to get the best looking decal when you first apply it. And then hopefully you'll have the same results as it wears on your car. I think you'll be super pleased with the way the Orajet with that OraGuard over the top performs. And of course, if you can cut it out of that premium permanent vinyl, I think you will love that as well. So there you go. There is Cricut car decals. A little comparison for you. Hopefully you like this. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, any of the products we use, feel free to ask us in the comment section below. Remember, there's tons of links in the description below. You may have to click read more, but you can find links to the products we used as well as a few other videos that might be helpful, that type of thing. Speaking of videos that might be helpful, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, scroll back, watch some old videos. I'm sure you'll find something you'll love. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week with another great Cricut video. Thanks y'all. Bye-bye.